4 people in St. Louis County were awarded today for their achievements focusing on improving different aspects of public health, from human trafficking to parental substance abuse.
Northern News Now's Madison Green attended the ceremony and looks closely at one award recipient who you may recognize from walking the streets of downtown Duluth.
Christina Trock, Mel Alvar, Dr. Jan Baldwin, and Nathan Kesti received the St. Louis County Public Health Achievement Award. Kesti is downtown Duluth's outreach specialist.
This position came to be, there was some concerns within the community about the business district having an outreach worker.
But since its inception in 2022, the position has adapted to serving everyone in downtown Duluth, especially the unhoused population.
Sometimes people feel like they burnt too many bridges, or it's their family doesn't care anymore. And when that opportunity comes to reconnect people with family and see them thrive and in a safe, supporting environment.
Since he started his role, Kesti has helped more than 70 individuals get into housing, 100 become employed, and 55 find treatment.
We have people that are taking the time to check on people that don't necessarily want to go in, don't necessarily want to get checked on. But it's important we have these community members that do this, because without it, people slip through the cracks.
Kesti regularly works with CHUM, the Damiano Center, DPD, and more. He believes this is where he'll find continued success.
The biggest part is to really just build off of the collaborations and then making sure that advocating for folks that, whether it's like housing situations or creating the right environments for people to be safe.
Recognized for what he has done, while recognizing there is much more to do. In Duluth, Madison Green, Northern News Now.
And get this, Kesti walks about 8 miles every single day to get to know those he works more closely with downtown.